Okay, so I'm going to react to this Bleacher Report best moments of the NBA Finals since 2000, I believe it is. And they have 8 spots. But I want to use this intro to talk about some of the snubs. The biggest one is Dwyane Wade in 2006. The rationalization for this could be that this article mainly focuses on specific plays in NBA Finals rather than series at large. But even as I say that, to spoil the article a little bit, the first selection is the 2004 Pistons. There's no one specific play, it's the accomplishment at large. So I feel like that already makes it a little inconsistent. The guy averaged 35 points against Dallas. The next leading dude was Antoine Walker with 14. The last 4 games for D. Wade, 42, 36, 43, 36 in a game 6, down 2-0. They win the 3 straight in Miami. They win a really difficult road game 6. I mean, not only does D. Wade need to be on here, you could argue he can be number 1, but he's not here. Other snubs, the 2011 Dallas Mavericks also do not make an appearance. I mean, beating the heavily favored Miami Heat and also breaking LeBron's brain, pretty impressive, but they don't get here. The other one that's weird is that there's no Warriors title that is recognized. I mean, the 2016 finals are here as you would expect, but like the Warriors won 3 chips, man, including one year where they went 16-1. I think that is deserving. I mean, there's a case to be made that the first Kevin Durant year with the Warriors is the best team of all time. The 2014 Spurs, aka the best passing team of all time, even if the assists might not suggest it, but just watching them move the ball, they do not make an appearance on here. Now, all this being said, I don't really want to spend much time downplaying the ones that actually did make the list, because there are still some really great moments, and I more so just want to appreciate those, but I also wanted to be like, what the hell, man? Where's Dwyane Wade on this list? But anyway, if we actually dive into it now. So Bleacher Report says that the 8th best NBA Finals moment in the last 20 years is the starless Pistons winning it all. Now, they are at least nice when they say Chauncey was really good, Rasheed was really good, Ben Wallace was awesome, of course, one of the best defensive players ever. This team has definitely been remembered, and it seems like we reference them a lot. I mean, hell, I reference them when talking about the Heat in this finals that they've unfortunately dealt with a bunch of injuries in, but I definitely see what they're getting at. So, Kobe said in his interview thing with Shaq that the way that the Pistons beat them was they basically extended the entire game on defense out to the half-court line. So instead of letting guys dribble up to the 3-point line, they would just defend them almost after they crossed half-court. And then what that would do is that would force Shaq to step up, and he wouldn't be as close to the basket. Now, I was 11 years old and didn't care about basketball when this series happened, so I have no takes. But if Kobe said that's what happened, then I'm going to take his word for it. And now for number 7, they have probably my most painful moment as a basketball fan, which was Ron Artest, his 3 over the Celtics in Game 7 of the 2010 Finals. That's the one play that still sticks with me from everything, man. The Celtics were looking really good in that game. They were double-teaming Kobe, but they just got destroyed on the glass. The offensive rebounding in that game was the reason the Lakers won. I mean, I know this shot was huge, and I believe Kobe had some big shots late, and Pau Gasol and Kobe had a pick and roll late that I think kind of sealed it. But this was the play where it was like, oh crap, the Celtics are going to lose. And it wasn't even a great shot in the moment. I know I'm sounding like Paul George right now, but like it was a Ron Artest kind of contested 3. Pierce was right there, and he had a little bit of a jab step. I was thinking, no, there's no way this goes in. And it went right through, and my 17-year-old self was like, well, I guess this is what it feels like to have sports go this way sometimes. Because the first year that I really got into basketball was 2008 when the Celtics won the title, so I didn't know any better. I was like, oh, okay, it's always fun. No, it's not always fun. Number 6, we have Iverson steps over Ty Lue. You know, looking at that roster that the 76ers had, it's pretty wild that Iverson got him that far. And this is a run that in the past I was a little more critical on than I probably should have been. You know, it was a Larry Brown team, and he had the Iverson cuts going on and Iverson moving around off the ball a little bit. And besides that, it was all defense. Defense, physicality, two big guys, which was normal back then. I mean, if we watched that Sixers team right now, we would be like, oh my goodness, what is this? Get another guy who can shoot, please. But that's how it was. And it was a Larry Brown team, which means all defense. And Iverson has spoke about how great Larry Brown was for him, but in true Larry Brown fashion, he wasn't there that long. But still, they found a way. Aaron McKie was huge for them in their round 2 series against the Raptors that went 7 games. He averaged 16 points in the game 7 against Toronto. That was a 1-point game where I believe Vince Carter missed a potential buzzer beater right at the end there. Aaron McKie had 22 points on 8 of 16 shooting. I feel like Aaron McKie has kind of become forgotten within 76ers lore. Probably not by Sixers fans, but by everybody else. And I guess that's all Iverson needed. He needed one other guy who could give you like 15, 16 a game, and he got him that far. Okay, they're being nice to me again. The Game 4 comeback in 2008. What were they down? 24 points to the Lakers. It was looking like it was going to be a 2-2 series. And the thing that I noticed from watching it back real quick on YouTube is when the Celtics made the comeback, it was with KG at center. It was him, Pierce Allen, Eddie House, James Posey, some Rondo. So a bit of a look into what the NBA would become way back in 2008 in that Game 4. Also, another thing is I found myself in the comment section from 6 years ago. I'm a little embarrassed by my use of the word us. I don't do that anymore. Not that I have anything against people doing it, but I just don't do it. But yeah, James Posey, he made some big threes. Number 4, we have Robert Horry's clutch 3 against the Pistons in 05 in Detroit, 2-2 series. The thing to remember about this play the most is, of course, that Rashid chooses to defend the guy in the corner because he's defending Horry on the inbound, and then Horry just steps in, and there is such a gasp from the Detroit crowd. I'm not going to put it on in the video because copyright and all that, but if you watch it, everyone in the arena is terrified. Because the thing is, like, Horry already had the reputation up to that point, but he goes nuts in the last whatever minutes of that game. He has a number of threes, he has a putback, and he has this huge dunk over Rip Hamilton, I believe it is. He just straight up dunks on him. It's like, wait a minute, this is Robert Horry? He looks like he's Blake Griffin on this play. And then that was the shot to seal it all, and the Spurs go up 3-2, and that's kind of that. I should say that that series was technically my first time watching basketball. I believe I watched Game 6. The Spurs won it in 6, right? Whatever the winning game was for that series, that was my first time watching the NBA. I remember nothing from my experience watching it, but then 2 years later I was all in. So in some ways that series was the one that planted the seed for me. And actually, if you want to think about basketball in the mid-2000s that foreshadowed how basketball looks today, this Pistons-Spurs series kind of does it. I mean, you're talking in the moments where Horry was going nuts, he was the power forward next to Tim Duncan, and then it was Tony, Manu, and Bruce Bowen. And then for the Pistons, it's Ben Wallace and Rasheed Wallace. And Sheed was, I guess, more of an inside mid-range dude who occasionally shot threes, but we all know how he would play if he played today, so it's kind of interesting to see just how deadly a three-point shooter like Horry at the 4 spot can be next to Tim Duncan, you know? At number 3, we have the Lakers finishing the three-peat. This was the one against the Nets, I believe. Yeah. The Nets series was not as much of a blowout as you think about it initially. I mean, it was still a sweep, but the only blowout was Game 2. I mean, Game 1 was 5 points, Game 3 was 3 points, Game 4 was 6 points. That Nets team was great defensively, and Jason Kidd did what he could for their offense. Kenyon Martin played kind of like the number 1 overall pick in this series. He did average 22 points. His main thing was defense and versatility and all that. And I think there's a chance that for definitely the first stretch of his career before he started getting hurt a little bit more, I think it's possible that Kenyon Martin was a bit of a doesn't all show up in the box score kind of guy. But anyway, yeah, Shaq averaged 36, 12, and 4, and he shot 66% from the free throw line. So if he would have shot, let's say, 75% on those, then he probably averages 40 points a game in that series. When we talk about peak Shaquille O'Neal, it's pretty much that. I mean, I talk about Kenyon Martin and his impact not showing up in the box score. Same thing could be said for Shaq, who had an insane box score because of the foul trouble that he would create for the other team. He shot 68 free throws in 4 games against the Nets. And Kobe had 36 free throw attempts himself. So, I mean, you're putting those two on the line that many times, you're not going to win. It's just impossible. As it was proven, they won 3 in a row. Number 2, we've got the 2013 finals, specifically Ray Allen shot. We knew this was going to be on here. The fact that it's not number 1 is a little interesting. I have an idea of what number 1's going to be. I'm assuming LeBron will still be part of it. I mean, you know, if that shot goes in, or if it doesn't go in, then that would mean at that point the Heat would have been 1-2 in the finals. LeBron probably would have got killed. Not that he would have really deserved it, because he was amazing in the fourth quarter of that Game 6. And who really knows if the Heat look the same the upcoming season? I mean, they probably do, but you never really know. But it goes in. And Tim Duncan was not in the game. That's the one thing that we kind of remember from that play. I also remember the crazy defensive rotation that Chris Bosh had on Danny Green to block his shot in the overtime. That one was wild. And, we go to Game 7, and LeBron has a great Game 7, and Miami wins it by a little, and that's that. I'm trying to think if that's my favorite finals. It could be. Not every single game was close, but the games that were close were so good, with this one being the most memorable one, that it might be the answer. And for number 1, we've got the block and then the shot. So, could you say that Bleacher Report did not have the guts to just separate these two and knock one of them off? I don't know. I mean, it kind of makes sense to have them both there. You could just say Cleveland's comeback on the Warriors if you really want to, but if you're going to break down 2 plays, it's these 2. But my question is, if we're going to do this, why wouldn't we put Kevin Love's The Stop in here as well? I mean, yeah, I know Steph Curry made himself look like an idiot, but still, I think it would have been fair to put it in here. You know, thinking about Kyrie and his all-time case, or just how we're going to remember him, it's going to be a very interesting career to look back on. Besides just Kyrie, the personality, between the sudden trade request from Cleveland and the fact that they actually traded him, to the 2 years with the Celtics, and many things have been talked about them, and now Brooklyn, and we'll have to see what happens with the next stretch of his career, but it's safe to say that Kyrie will always be remembered for this first. It is wild to think about with Kyrie as well. If he never gets hurt, where could he be on the all-time list? Because if we're talking strictly from a talent perspective and where we're removing all of the accolades and stuff, I would say Kyrie has definitely got to be a top 50 guy, top 40, maybe top 30. I mean, if you compared Kyrie to Isaiah Thomas, but you just removed all of their accolades and just compared them as talents, we sure Isaiah wins that one? I mean, he might still be the winner there, but do we not have to think about it for a little bit? But of course, that's not how the all-time conversation works. So yeah, I mean, the stuff that I was saying in the intro about how D. Wade is not here, I will repeat that one again. You could argue that Dwyane Wade against the Mavs in 2006 is the best finals performance ever. LeBron in 2016 certainly has a case against it, but yeah. Then you mentioned Dallas. You mentioned Golden State, the 2014 Spurs. Probably some other ones that could have been in here, but you're going to go with 8, so that's what they went with.